Ja, välkomna till en ny stream denna fredagkväll, natt till lördag. Ja, vi har väl så att säga, ska vi se, försöka ljudet här lite grann. Verkar inte som att det fungerar så bra här. Ska vi se här, lite teknisk tur bara. Då, den är med. Ska vi se, ja, sagt de har börjat tankat. Igen. Så, nu ska vi se då. Ja, de har börjat tanka raketen här, eller ja, allting, både skeppet och Boostern har börjat tankats och det är fullt ös kan man säga. Vi hoppas på att få en riktigt trevlig uppskjutning idag. Vädret är bra och ja, ni som inte vet här hade så vad heter det? Ja, förra veckan var det ju tänkt att det här skulle ske egentligen. Då var det ju 4 motorer som inte startade. Man har efter det, alltså som jag liksom förde streamen då, vet jag om att jag sa att man kommer troligtvis destacka och köra tillbaka för att byta motorer, vilket man nu har gjort. Vi fick ett test här i veckan, jag tror det var onsdags var det väl, tror jag, som man körde en spin prime vad det kunde utse från testerna då. Så man har bytt ut minst 4 motorer vad jag vet. Elon sa att de skulle byta ut ungefär 2, eller ja, de skulle byta ut 2 stycken. De har bytt ut betydligt fler än så vi får se lite när om SpaceX säger någonting här sen när de kommer igång med sin stream här. Jag ser att den har påbörjats så vi ska hoppa över till den strax här, men i alla fall efter att de har bytt ut den här då, så har man kört en spin prime och sen skulle man ha kört egentligen igår, men på grund av vädret här så har man flyttat det till idag. Vi hade en kort hold vid 57 minuter på ja, alltså när det var 57 minuter kvar, då var det ungefär 6 minuter, så att vi är ungefär 6 minuter försenade, men det ska inte påverka speciellt mycket, så de har en 90 minuters lucka då, så att säga. Uppdaterat lite grafik här, hoppas ni gillar det. Även lite andra grejer uppdaterade. Men ja, vi är igång och som sagt, jag har ju upprepat igen att gillar ni det ni ser så tveka inte på att likea den här sändningen och ge mig gärna en subscription också när ni ändå håller på. Jag täcker ju in mestadels Starship då, eftersom att det är de som skickar ut, eller SpaceX menar jag, eftersom det är de som faktiskt skickar ut mest flights då, men jag har även koll på Blue Origin och NASA så att säga, så att jag brukar följa dem när jag har möjlighet till det. Efter videon här så kommer jag ju såklart att göra som vanligt beroende på hur det går då, och då är det ju att jag brukar analysera lite hur det har gått och vad som har hänt. Ofta så brukar jag vara ganska så tidig med vad som så att säga jag brukar se saker ganska tidigt och det jag sa i förra uppskjutningen där om att hot staging hade gått galet. Man såg att Boostern åkte åt något helt annat håll än man brukar, och SpaceX har bekräftat att det var ungefär 90 grader felaktigt i den riktningen som den som man hade tänkt att den skulle åka emot. Så det bekräftar att jag hade rätt på det. Och sen så tror jag nog att de flesta felerna som Boostern upplevde var på grund av det. Helt enkelt. Starship vet jag inte varför motorn liksom, jag tror inte de har eller slutade att fungera eller liknande. Då har de inte meddelat. Vi får väl se om de säger någonting här då. Så att ja. Vi hoppas på, som sagt, på en riktigt bra uppskjutning och att allt går bra och alla motorer startar och att Boostern får landa där den har tänkt att landa i havet och att Starship kommer fram hela vägen. Ser att SpaceX har startat sin stream som sagt, så vi hoppar över till den här. Jag kommer flika in som vanligt när jag känner att det är rimligt att göra så. Så vi kör igång här.
Back in May, the first test flight of Starship version 3 delivered tons of data, and we'll be putting those learnings into practice today on Flight 2. All of this brings us one step closer to a fully and rapidly reusable vehicle, the key to enabling frequent flights to the Moon and Mars. Starship will also enhance Starlink's constellation and connectivity on Earth, the Moon, and beyond, while helping establish a network of AI data centers in space. Success
solar arrays, firing thrusters. We'll get into those a little bit later into the show.
Yeah, and
Så
what
drar ni med ljudet
Starlink
också.
engineers learned today will be essential to deploying operational V3 satellites into the Starlink constellation on future Starship flights. These larger, more powerful next-generation satellites are designed to boost orbital capacity, strengthen the overall network, and deliver a noticeably better experience for our customers.
And as we've said before, Starship is a developmental program. What we're doing today is a test. We test in flight because it's the best way to rapidly iterate the design, and it's the best way to put the vehicle through its paces in the actual conditions it will experience during an operational mission.
Yeah, exactly. So while we have real Starlink satellites on board, the most important payload today is data. But no matter the outcome of today's test flight, excitement is once again guaranteed.
Now let's head a couple of floors upstairs where Dan Hewitt is just outside the Launch Control Center. How's it going, Dan?
Hey, Nate. It is going great. Hi to you and Kate. Hello, everybody else. I'm Dan Hewitt with SpaceX Communications. Happy to be here with you for another launch day. As Kate noted, our first attempt to launch this flight test last Thursday ended early in a pad abort. Let's dig into that a little bit. So 4 of Super Heavy's 33 Raptor engines aborted at startup due to issues with their aux turbo pumps. Those rapidly pressurize and feed liquid oxygen into the engine for combustion. For those of you that like to pay real close attention to the on-screen telemetry, you saw this at T0 during that first attempt. We command the engines to start up simultaneously. You get some slight differences as the engine adapts in real time, but you saw 4 not light up. So 4 out of 33, what exactly happened? We have a launch constraint built in where we can only be down 2 Raptor engines at liftoff. So the vehicle detected more than that, we're out. Automatically aborted before the final T0, safely shut down all of the engines that started up. We dug through the data, and what we saw was some off-nominal spin response in the aux turbo pumps on 6 of the engines. So the most likely root cause was determined. We were collecting some moisture inside of the pumps from previous operations, which then froze when we introduced that cryogenic propellant, and that either slowed those pumps down or stopped them completely from spinning. So for this next flight attempt, we swapped in 6 engines that were already at Starbase, and we did a test back on Wednesday that allowed us to check out the newly installed engines and spin the aux pumps on all 33 after they were chilled, check out their performance before we got into another launch attempt. We pulled a bunch of those engines off, as we said. We tested one on a test stand up at McGregor, helped screen for any other issues that might be hiding, and that one was actually able to do a full booster ascent burn. So got us in a good position for today. Even though we didn't get off the pad last week, we learned about the engines, the prop systems, how they perform in the flight environment. Already going to drive some changes to make Starship more reliable. We also got a real-world test of an abort that's designed to take place at one of the most critical dynamic phases of flight. We safely shut down 29 running Raptor engines, safeguarded the vehicle and the pad. a mountain of work goes into designing aborts. You've got software, hardware engineers just dreaming up bad day scenarios, how we want the vehicle to respond, just to give us the best possible path to maximize safety, preserve the mission and the hardware, so we're able to do that. All right, that was then. This is now Flight 13's second attempt. So things are looking really good at the moment. Just behind me here is the Launch Control Center. Everybody's on console, looking at the systems on board the vehicle and on the pad as we count down to liftoff. Propellant load is underway. We slipped a little bit into our window as we waited for some last couple of things to settle out, and we are targeting a liftoff at 5:51 p.m. Central Time. Weather today, you can see we've got blue skies. We're going to do a little weather corner here for a second because we were originally attempting to fly yesterday, and we didn't because of, we said, weather. I want to be clear, the cause of not flying was visibility. It had nothing to do with launch weather constraints. One of the key goals of this flight is to get very clear imagery of the tiles on Starship as we're flying it at a higher dynamic pressure. You can't do that when you have clouds completely obscuring your view through all of those critical phases of ascent. We're actually capable and legally allowed to launch into lightning because we've done a ton of testing, unique testing, analysis, studying aircraft capabilities, and it's designed because that's ultimately the cadence we want to fly at, like an airplane. We're going to utilize that new capability carefully, but we're very aware if we want to fly Starship as often as you could fly an airplane, you're going to have to fly in weather that historically would keep rockets on the ground. So we're doing that analysis, we're doing that testing to prepare for the future. Aside from weather, we're watching the range, both in the Gulf right here off Starbase and in the Indian Ocean. That's currently green. And we are not tracking any vehicle or pad issues that will preclude a launch today. Speaking of the pad, that launch infrastructure, it's every bit as complicated as the rocket itself. It's designed to operate in some of the most extreme conditions on Earth. In case you missed it, we had some pretty cool insight into what it takes to launch the most powerful rocket on the planet in the second episode of our ongoing documentary, Starship.
Ja, då hade de alltså bytt ut 6 motorer, kunde vi se. Och, eller de sa det i alla fall. Och, ja. Får se lite om det som funkar då. Hoppas det.
Is that we test fast and we test often, and that includes launches. We want to make sure the vehicle's all ready to go. We want to make sure the ground's all ready to go, but we also don't want to be caught in analysis paralysis.
Our main objective today is a 10-engine static fighter.
This thing, and you see how glowing hot it is. It's just yeah, a pretty impossible environment to keep something happy in. But and you zoom in and the flame deflector's still there, so that's the reason we build those things.
Putting the rocket into human terms is something really tough. 65,000 pounds per second of propellant that is coming out of the engines. And again, just like 18 million pounds of thrust, like what does that number mean? I think of like 11 Ford F-150 trucks per second just zipping out of the bottom of the rocket. It's like imagine if you had the world's biggest machine gun, except for instead of shooting bullets, it was shooting pickup trucks, and it's just firing 11 pickup trucks per second out of the bottom of the rocket. It's like, do you think your stuff could survive that?
And it is so satisfying to watch the slow motion flame diverter shots.
Right, and just hear all the exciting stories of how we tackle these problems out here in Starbase. Super exciting.
Yeah, and by the way, if that looks like fun to you, come join our team. We are seeking scrappy problem solvers to help us build the future. Okay, let's go meet the rocket out on the pad, Starship version 3. It's the most powerful rocket ever developed and ever flown.
And it's also the tallest at just over 407 feet tall, fully stacked. It is massive. Standing at the base and looking up is like looking up at a 40-story building. Incredible.
Yes, it's a two-stage rocket. Both stages are designed to return to Earth and fly again, making that thing that you see on your screen the first fully reusable rocket ever. The bottom half, or the first stage, is the Super Heavy booster. That's the silver part. It's powered by 33 of our newest iteration, you see them there on your screen now, Raptor 3 engines. They run on liquid methane and oxygen, and this version of Raptor provides a significant increase in thrust. With that additional thrust, as you can see here by these comparisons, the version that we're launching today, version 3 on the far right, that version of Starship gets off the pad much faster than our previous versions. The one on the far left is, I believe, is actually our Flight 1 footage, and in comparison, they really just go.
Yep. And now Super Heavy has 3 grid fins, which you can think of as aerodynamic rudders. You see them on your screen now. They help steer during landing. They're 50% larger than on previous booster versions and are designed to support rapid reuse and a more stable atmospheric reentry.
I love that shot there. And at the top of the booster, we've got the hot stage adapter. It's designed to protect the booster during separation, and now it's fully integrated for reusability.
And stacked right above that is our upper stage of the rocket, or stage 2. It's what we call ship. It's powered by 6 Raptor engines, 3 optimized to sea level performance, and 3 for the vacuum of space.
Ship's design could one day enable point-to-point transfer on Earth, meaning you could travel anywhere on the planet in an hour or less. Sounds pretty great to me.
Sounds awesome.
It's designed to carry massive orbital payloads, both cargo and crew, to Earth orbit, the moon, Mars, and beyond.
And for the first time, we are carrying real Starlink V3 satellites to space. For more on that, let's head out to California, where Tyler is standing by with the team in Hawthorne. How's it going, Tyler?
We're doing great over here, Nate. Thank you both. I'm Tyler Lionquist, and I'm a Starlink business analyst here at SpaceX. Now, for those of you who have been following along, the Starlink version 3 satellites have been designed to take full advantage of Starship's payload capacity. And we're going to get our first look at those satellites today. The Starlink V3 is our next-gen satellite, and it includes meaningful increases in capacity, data density, and power generation. So we'll be adding around 20 times the capacity into the constellation on each Starship mission as compared to the version 2 satellites that we launch on Falcon. And that means that we'll be able to serve more people all around the world and with increasingly better high-speed internet. Like all Starlink satellites, the V3s are built at Starlink's site in Redmond, Washington, where we already build more satellites than anyone else in the world today. Now, the V3 sats are designed to support 1 terabit per second of downlink and 160 gigabits per second of uplink capacity. That's approximately a 10 times improvement in downlink capacity and around a 22 times increase in uplink capacity from the version 2 Starlink satellite. Serving this capacity to and from customers are the satellite's upgraded phased array antennas. The upgraded phased arrays are fed by SpaceX's in-house developed chips that were designed to serve customers more efficiently in both densely and sparsely populated regions simultaneously. And each Starlink V3 satellite is also equipped with 6 high-capacity 400 gigabit space lasers. Now, these 6 lasers will allow high-bandwidth traffic to flow uninterrupted between any 2 points in the world with redundant paths across a petabit laser mesh network. And if that wasn't enough, the V3s will carry 4 quad-band radio frequency backhaul antennas. And these will take advantage of the Ka, E, V, and W communication bands, allowing for an 8 times improvement in supported capacity compared to the V2 sats. And that's a lot of growth in capacity and capability. And as such, the new satellite design requires more power. So the solar arrays on V3 will generate approximately twice as much power as the current arrays that we fly on the V2 satellites. And they're also optimized to reduce drag in the lower orbital altitudes in which these new satellites will operate. But before we operationalize these satellites, we want to put them in a flight-like environment. These satellites were loaded into Starship last week ahead of that first attempt. And once deployed, the Starlink team will only have about 20 minutes of flight to speed run some of these tests before the sat's demise in the atmosphere. The team will attempt to run tests such as extending the new solar arrays and antennas, connecting with ground stations, and turning on the satellite's communication systems. And this is all part of SpaceX's iterative process.
Undrar om vi får se lite utfällning av solpaneler. Det hade varit kul.
To launch and ground infrastructure, Starlink is uniquely positioned to keep pace with rising demand around the world. In fact, just last week, we rolled out the next generation Starlink kit, the V5, which is built for reliable, high-speed home internet.
Ja, som sagt, ja, de kommer skicka ut satelliter den här gången, riktiga satelliter, och det kommer alltså, ja, de kommer ju brinna upp samtidigt med Starship som, ja, eftersom att de inte skickas ut i omloppsbana då. Och det är ju också, för de vill fortfarande inte sätta ut Starlink eller Starship i omloppsbana då, för att de vet inte riktigt när alltså om de kan ta sig tillbaka, eller de hoppas kunna komma dit kanske nästa flygning, men det är lite problem, eller inte problem, det kan vara problem att komma tillbaka, så att säga. Alltså landa ifall de sätter allting i omloppsbana.
Satellite constellation Starmind, our AI satellites. I got to sit down with Elon and Starlink's director of satellite engineering, Ian Dahl. We covered a whole bunch of stuff, really focused on what are the 3 limiting factors to making data centers in space a reality. First one we talked about was mass to orbit. That's where Starship comes in. We're going to need megatons into low Earth orbit, and we're going to be combining its full reusability and the really big payload capacity to launch the number of satellites that we're talking about, because we plan to deploy up to 1 million AI satellites, and those are going to function as those orbital data centers using Starship for the high volume, low cost launches. A couple of really key reasons why moving data centers to space has advantages over building them here on Earth, which gets into our second limiting factor, which is power generation. It's always sunny in space. Satellites can harness that sun, that near constant solar energy, which is really going to be the only way to scale if AI continues to grow at the pace that we see, especially when you contrast it with all of the challenges that you have here on Earth. Within about 2 to 3 years, we believe space-based AI compute is going to become the lowest cost option as those launch costs continue to drop and Earth-based constraints continue to grow. It's going to just transform how Earth powers AI, unlocks the future. And then our third limiting factor that we got to go figure out is going to be chips, and we got to do that fast. And that's what we're doing with TerraFab. That's going to be the most epic chip building effort ever. Not just churning out really cool advanced chips, but also building a massive scale location to do it. We're talking 100 million square feet, so about 10 Tesla gigafactories. All of this together.
Det är i princip en repris från förra veckan då, så att det var ju samma videos då.
That are going to set us up to eventually become a galactic civilization. That sounds really cool. I mean, harnessing meaningful amounts of power from the sun, supporting all of those AI applications that are going to change our daily lives, and making humanity a multi-planetary species. If you want to learn more, you can watch the full conversation on our website. Hopefully a link appears on the screen. If not, go look up Starmind. So the future is looking pretty sweet, but first things first, we've got Flight 13 ahead. Let's jump down to Kate and Nate for what's ahead.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, the future is built on progressive steps like today's test. So let's dive into the flight profile that we're going to see today.
That's right. We've got an exciting day in store. So starting with liftoff, Super Heavy will ignite those 33 Raptor 3 engines right off of Pad 2 here in Starbase. We will then power through ascent ahead of hot stage separation, where the booster will shut down all but 5 engines at the bottom. Stage 2 will then light its own Raptor engines, pushing off from Super Heavy and starting our stage separation maneuver known as hot staging. We will then have the directional booster flip using 33 engines, and after coasting for a few minutes, the booster today will target a landing burn and ocean splashdown a few miles off the coast of Starbase.
Ship is going to keep the party going with its ascent burn to a suborbital trajectory, followed by deployment of those 20 Starlink V3 satellites. We also plan to relight a single Raptor engine. Re-entry is just a few minutes later, which should provide some amazing views thanks to Starlink. And typically we see some pretty fantastic views of the ship's blistering re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere. A plasma blanket will form around the vehicle and never prevails to provide epic scenes. And lastly, we'll conclude today's test with a landing flip, a landing burn, and a splashdown in the Indian Ocean. And with that, let's kick it over to Dan for a countdown update.
Thanks, Kate. Good news. We just heard from the flight director. We are T-minus 10 minutes. We're a little bit past that now, not tracking any issues for launch today. Range continues to be green. Our range team hard at work, making sure we're clear out in the Gulf and in the Indian Ocean, where we're going to be sending the Starship. Weather continues to be gorgeous. Again,
om ni missade det så
our attempt yesterday, or didn't even try yesterday because we had such poor visibility.
Den förra veckan berodde på att turbopumparna inte riktigt fungerade som de skulle på grund av att det hade fryst typ eller liknande. Så att hade det att göra och hoppas att de har har löst problemet här med de nya 6-motorerna. Som ni ser här så är tankningen igång. Väntas vara klar här när det är ungefär 2 minuter kvar.
You can see the prop load there on your screen. We're just about closed out on the main tanks on the ship. We just started propellant load in the header tanks on Starship. Those are the 2 smaller ones up top that we'll hopefully be using for the in-space burn and a landing burn at the end of its mission. We started loading our propellant at about T-minus 35 minutes today, and we're going to continue all the way down until we're inside 3 minutes to launch. We'll close out at about T-minus 2 minutes and 50 seconds on booster, and then 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the ship. So at the moment, we're looking good. That launch time, 5:51 p.m. Central, a couple of minutes into our window today. So we'll be back real soon. Toss it back down to Kate and Nate.
Thanks, Dan. Recently, NASA announced the astronauts for the upcoming Artemis 3 mission. The Artemis 3 mission is a crewed demonstration mission in low Earth orbit designed to demonstrate critical systems needed for future lunar landings. Astronauts Andre Douglas, Luca Parmitano, Randy Bresnik, and Frank Rubio, as seen there on your screen, they will crew the mission, and it's slated for 2027.
It's a great crew, and it's also the penultimate mission, the final test before Artemis 4 attempts to put astronaut boots back on the moon for the first time since 1972. We'll be launching a Starship with a docking port on the nose so we can practice rendezvous and docking with the crew. And one key test objective comes after docking, where we will be able to test out maneuverability of the vehicles together while in space. This has the new importance as the revamped plan for lunar landings use Starship to do the burn, sending astronauts to the moon from Earth orbit.
And one other cool ad, NASA is putting 2 SpaceX mini lasers on Orion to connect it to our Starlink constellation with the goal of enabling 4K imagery and video from the spacecraft while in space. So that's going to be pretty awesome to see.
Awesome views for sure.
Yeah, there's lots of excitement planned for next year as we all work together to send humans back to the moon. And speaking of sending humans to space, former SpaceXer and current NASA astronaut Anil Menon is actually up on the space station right now as part of Expedition 74. And he captured these sweet photos of Starbase during an ISS flyover. Hi, Anil. We're all waving back at you, buddy. It's awesome to see the whole picture here as there's lots of facility and infrastructure development going on, but Starbase isn't alone on that front.
Yeah, it changes every day.
Yeah.
But talking about other locations, work is well underway in Florida to get pads 39A and Slick 37A ready for future Starship launches potentially later this year. Starship launches from Cape Canaveral are key to hit the necessary launch cadence to get back to the moon, build a moon base, head to Mars, all the exciting stuff ahead in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And that future gets closer and closer with tests like today's flight. And with that, we are just under 6 minutes until launch. So that brings us to terminal count. Excitement is definitely getting traction down here as the crowd is gathering just behind us on the lawn outside, and happy to say, still not a cloud in the sky. Dan, how are things up at Mission Control?
Things are still looking really good, Kate. We are still not tracking any holds on the board, no issues with the vehicle or with the pad. Our range continues to be green, both in the Gulf and out in the Indian Ocean for flight today.
Ser ut som
We'll continue
tankningen
monitoring that all the way
håller
down
sin tid.
to the final minutes. We are going to be
3
closing
minuter
out our
kvar
propellant
till
loading on the booster
att det
and
ska vara
the
klart.
ship within the next 3 minutes. We're going to have about 11.5 million pounds of liquid oxygen and liquid methane on both of those stages once we're all done. Then it'll be time for the pad to essentially ready itself, where we clear out all of the prop that's been flowing through feed lines up into the launch mount, up into the tower. Those go back into the propellant farm, get it ready, and we'll do those final thrust vector control, those steering checks as we get a little bit closer. If we need to hold that hold time, it's new for this launch, and we saw it briefly on our attempt last week. That hold is set at T-minus 60 seconds now.
Och den kommer de säkert stanna vid här en stund.
We need to just
Det
kind of
brukar de
hang out
alltid
for
göra,
any
i princip.
pressurizations, anything like that to clear. We've got a couple of minutes to hang there. We will only hold if there's an issue, and we're not tracking any holds on the board right now.
That's right. Now,
Brukar alltid
once
dyka upp
T-minus
någonting
60
då.
seconds passes, a number of events will occur in rapid succession. Both the ship and booster will configure their comm systems for flight, and they will rapidly run leak checks on gas and fluid tanks. Meanwhile, the booster will be going into internal power, and its engines will get their final priming for launch. Those ship engines will also begin their ascent bleed profile, and it will arm its automatic flight safety system. There's a lot of mechanical activations on the tower side as well, with one critical step being unlatching of the quick disconnect, feeding propellant into the ship.
And once T-minus 60 seconds has passed, we still have the ability to rapidly recycle the count under certain conditions back to that T-minus 60 seconds point and hold there to assess what happened and if teams can proceed once again to T0. There's an estimated 5 to 8 minutes of hold time, and that's largely driven by the propellant temperatures that we see on the vehicle while holding. The flame diverter on pad 2, you can see it there at the base of Starship. That activates at T-minus 17 seconds. Now, if we trigger a hold after T-minus 17 seconds, that will result in a scrub for the day, as we've already turned on the water. Now, for those that have just recently tuned in, once again, our primary test objectives for today's test flight includes a successful liftoff, stage separation. We also plan to deploy 20 Starlink V3 satellites. We have real satellites on board. We expect to have about 20 minutes of available time to speed run some tests and really allow the Starlink engineers to put them to the test in that time.
That's right, and we also have the soft splashdowns planned for both the booster and the ship.
Då har vi 20 sekunder kvar tills att den ska vara fulltankad.
So that way we can get ready for tower catches again.
And just a quick check-in, we got our final green light from the range, not tracking any issues on ascent or out in the Indian Ocean for entry. So that was kind of the final go for flight that we wait for in these final minutes. Prop load now closing out on both vehicles. We have no holds on the board. Again, that
Som sagt, de kan stanna i 60 sekunder där. De brukar alltid stanna vid en liten stund där. Det kan kanske handla om 5-10 sekunder. Ska vi se, jag har lite jiggle på motorerna här. Där har vi lite jiggle.
There they go. The TVC checkouts, also known as engine wiggles. We're activating those thrust vector control actuators to ensure that those center engines and the inner radius as well have the ability to steer the rocket.
Yep, super cool to see how fast those move. I mean, in flight, it's amazing to see how it steers the vehicle. And we're coming up on that T-minus 1 minute now on our countdown, so let's listen in to see if we pass that gate.
Kan vi se om de stannar vid holden här eller inte. Så att de brukar göra det. De brukar ticka förbi lite grann, typ några sekunder, och sen så hoppar de tillbaka. Ska vi se.
All right, we are through the gate. Still no holds on the board.
Ingen där har vi en hold. Jag kan se på andra ställen här. Nej, inte. Ingen hold. Andra NASA Spaceflight har sagt en hold. Ja, den är borta nu. Ja. Ser bra ut. Ska vi se, då har vi 10 sekunder här. Blir den här bort efter 10 sekunder så är det en scrub. Hoppas det går bra. Allting funkar bra än så länge. Där kommer vattnet. Vi ser, jag har koll på motorgeometrin i vänstra hörnet. Tänds alla så är det go. Tänds inte alla så alla är igång. Bra, då kommer de att lyfta. Snyggt. Ska vi se om allting fungerar bra. Allt ser bra ut just nu. Hade lite bättre vinklar förra gången, men det är som det. Bra ut. Bra vyer. Alla motorer är fortfarande igång. kommer strax upp till max Q. Då det är mest påfrestning på raketen.
Coming up on max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure, which again for this flight is going to be higher than it has been on any of our previous Starship flights.
Ny vy, den här har inte jag sett förut. Jag har sett den lite grann från SpaceX tidigare flygningar, men ja.
Right, so we're passing through that maximum aerodynamic pressure over a minute now into flight. Still seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines lit and burning. Our next major moment's going to be coming up in just a little over a minute from now when we're going to get to hot staging. We're going to shut down all but 5 of those engines on the booster. It's our version of MECO. Most engines cut off. And then we're going to ignite the 6 engines on the ship while it is still attached to do that separation. As a reminder, we try to do a directional flip. So when you watch on your screen, we're hopefully going to be setting that booster towards the bottom of the frame. For the booster itself, it's like doing a flip up. It'll go towards the bottom of your frame. We do that by lighting the engines in a slightly staggered sequence.
02.21 är hot staging ungefär. Jäklar vad varmt det var. Det är också ny vy. Det har jag inte sett förut. Det är varmt. Ja, så där kan det se ut. Ska vi se. Då har vi Miko här, kommer upp 18 där. Stänger av. 5 motorer trigger fortfarande. Ska vi se hur hot stagingen går. Den ska uppåt nu då, alltså bakåt. Oj. Vi ser. Det ser ut att ha gått så bra. Jag fick inte se det där nu då. Men alla motorer är igång i alla fall. Det är ju jättebra. Det var släckte den ner yttre ringen. Bra, ser bra ut det. 3 bara. Eller undrar om det ska vara så. Oj.
Backburn shutdown.
Ja, det kanske var tänkt så. Får hoppas att det var så.
And boost back burn shut down. So it looks like we were able to get through the boost back burn this time around. That was one of the key objectives we didn't have on the last cycle.
Det är lite nytt här hur det funkar, så att jag är inte riktigt med på allt.
All right, so that's the first of 2 burns that the booster is going to be doing to kind of send it back towards us. It's going to be landing a couple of miles offshore from Starbase, hopefully. We're going to try and get it all the way down to do a landing burn, where we're going to use those 13 center engines. They're going to ignite. That's what's going to really bleed off all that velocity that it's built up. And it'll eventually, hopefully, transition to 5 engines to kind of fine-tune its path in, and then all the way down to 3 for the remaining bit. All right, we've got a couple of minutes to go until we get there. So booster's going to coast for a little bit. Ship still seeing 6 out of 6 Raptor engines lit. 4 minutes into the flight. Ship's got about 4 minutes left. Getting some killer views. Kate, Nate, how was the view from down there?
It was incredible. I mean, it just shot off the pad, and seeing all the crowd now running back inside to take views on the screen here, it was amazing.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna learn to not stare at the engines, because now I have a bright blob in my vision. Right. Now, speaking of vision, we could see both stages there on your screen. Starship's second stage is still firing its engines. You can follow along with that with the GUI down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen.
Så den ser ut att kunna träffa. Så nästa gång kanske vi har catch nästa flight.
Well. Beautiful views of planet Earth there behind the ship.
That's right, and we're actually getting a live shot off the booster right now, and on the camera you can see the plume from Starbase where it just lifted off 5 minutes ago.
On nominal trajectory.
We are there.
We are there. That is us.
I kind of want to run back outside and wave.
Right. Now, again, this booster is not planning to come back to the tower or the launch site for this particular launch. We are going to be planning to do an ocean splashdown just off the coast of Starbase. So hoping to still get some amazing views of that.
6 motorer igång på Starship. Ser att de glöder lite grann där.
To see the Raptor engines there on the left-hand side of your screen. We can actually see the plume there
där.
Of those center Raptors. Those are the sea level ones, as well as the vacuum Raptors are the 3 on the larger ones on the outer radius.
Bra vyer faktiskt.
Now, just like on tower catches, we are going to be doing a 13 engine landing burn to slow the booster down. Hopefully we can get a live camera of the booster right now.
Så
as we're
SpaceX
going
tar en
into
ganska
that
bra
phase.
vy på det, men jag hoppas vi kommer
Awesome
in på...
shot, you can see it there.
Ja.
So right now the booster is using their 3 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through the atmosphere toward its landing site. You can see we're only 5 kilometers above the sea right here.
Numbered startup.
Ska vi se. Oh, det där var
Just
inte
heard
bra.
the call out for a landing burn startup for the booster.
Men det kanske klarar det ändå, men det
I
är
have a
inte
feeling
bra.
the crowd's about to go wild here.
Och sen så går det fort. Nej, det där var inte bra.
And another awesome landing for Super Heavy. Congratulations to all the teams here at Starbase and at our SpaceX team. An amazing, amazing view.
Ja, det gick inte helt enligt
Everything
plan.
continues to go well with ship,
Tyvärr.
as you can see there on your screen.
Så att det blir inte en tower catch, skulle jag gissa på nästa gång.
Yeah, we've got about a minute left with the ship engines on. Just looking at the booster real quick, it didn't look like we lit all 13 engines that we were planning for that initial landing burn. We were targeting a softer splashdown, and as you saw, it came in with quite a bit of velocity still. So landing velocity did look a little bit high, but really cool to make it all the way back this time to that landing burn. We'll dig in, figure out how to turn on all those engines, and then get to a full landing soon. But all eyes on ship. We are just a little ways away from getting those
Startup
engines
terminal
turned
guidance.
off. We expect it to burn about 8 minutes and change. And so hopefully just about 15 minutes to go. Sounds like we just got the sonic boom
Yeah,
here
we sure
at
did.
Starbase
That was awesome.
from the booster splashdown. And engine shutdown.
Alla måste klara sig hela vägen på skeppet i alla fall. Får se om de klarar att göra en relight då på den.
All right, Starship 6 Raptor engines have successfully shut down.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And there's our call out for nominal orbit insertion. So we got a ship in space. We've got a booster in the Gulf where we were planning to
16
send it.
minuter in i
It's a hell of a
flighten
start
ska
to the day,
de
Kate.
köra
Yeah,
deploy
it sure
demo.
is. All of our colleagues here are filing in through the doors. A lot of people wanted to stay outside and hear the boom. And so it's pretty great to see a ship in space, and everybody's super excited down here.
That's right. And as guaranteed, it has been an awesome day so far. All this action in just 9 minutes now. And objectives are done for the booster. Just want to quickly flag that that booster did land in a clear zone. We clear those before launch, well ahead, so that we ensure everyone is safe before the launch and after. So we're getting ready now for our in-space objectives.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes until the next milestone, so sit tight and enjoy the space views and, of course, the space jams. We'll be back here at T+14 minutes to deploy our payload, which is 20 of our newest Starlink version 3 satellites. So we'll see you soon.
Ja, som sagt, de klarar ju av att ticka i sina boxar för boostern, men den gjorde ju inte en kontrollerad landning. Den hade ju inte alls alla motorer uppstartade som de hade tänkt. Och gick väldigt fort ner, så att tyvärr så kommer nästa flygning troligtvis inte heller fångas upp av tornet. I och med att de brukar köra simulering av landningen varje gång när de tidigare då. De tidigare så att säga, de tidigare flygningarna har de alltid kört en simulering, typ att den hovrar, kan man säga. Den hovrar över marken liksom, typ, alltså, den kommer ner och så stannar den typ över vattnet och så står den still där. Och det är så de har bevisat på att, liksom, att det här kommer funka. det har de ju inte gjort nu då. Så att säga. Så att ja, det var första gången de kom tillbaka, men som sagt jag vet inte ifall det, jag kan kolla det sen lite grann om det blev om det gick som det var tänkt där. Det såg kontrollerat ut när de stängde av motorerna, men jag är inte säker på att det gick som det skulle. Sagt, skeppet klarar sig hela vägen. De stängde av det kontrollerat. Nu kommer de köra lite väntning här för att safea fordon, alltså för att det ska, jag vet inte lite anledningen varför man gör det, men det är för att dumpa lite bränsle och dumpa det som inte behövs då. Ska vi se sen så om den klarar sig igenom allting utan att få motorhaverien på något stället. I alla fall de klarar av att skicka ut satelliterna som det är tänkt. Ja. Men mycket bättre prestanda från Boostern där. De lyckades ju faktiskt tända alla 33 i alla fall för första boostbackburnen där och få iväg den åt rätt håll, vilket var en milestone tycker jag. Eftersom att det är ju helt ny design som sagt. De har ju använt en hot staging ring förut som de har det heter ju Jettison, alltså de har liksom bara slängt bort den. Men nu ska den ju sitta kvar på fordonet då, vilket gör att den ska bli mer återanvändningsbar. Och den förra hos staging-ringen som man kallade det, som de släppte av efter en stund, den hade ju vissa liksom, den var ju ventilerad den med, men den hade vissa ställen på vissa plåtar på så att säga den hot staging-ringen som gjorde att Boostern skickades iväg. Nu har de, förra gången som gick fel var att motorerna startade i fel ordning på skeppet och det i sin tur gjorde så att Boostern flög iväg åt helt fel håll. Så att det har de lyckats att fixa nu då, så det är ju en fix där och det löste ju problemet sen med, alltså så jag tror att det beror på att den sköts iväg åt fel håll för den gången som gjorde det, att det allt andra gick fel. Så nu fixar de det. De startade 33 motorer för en boost backburn. De klarar av boost backburnen vad jag tror. Jag vet inte ifall den var kontrollerat avstängd eller inte. Jag vet inte, jag tycker det gick lite snabbt. Plus att vi inte fick se något klipp ifrån hot stagingen och det här. Så ja, men den måste de fila på lite grann.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're getting ready to deploy 20 Starlink version 3 satellites. That will get underway after we open the payload door in just about a minute. Now, for those of you that perhaps missed the previous 14 minutes, this is the second flight of Starship version 3. This is flight 13. It lifted off. It had a beautiful ascent as well as a ship ignition and stage separation. It was literally picture perfect from here at Starbase.
Picture perfect, and then we continued with that booster hot stage separation. Amazing to see some live replays of that. And of course, the booster performing its own boost back and landing.
Yeah, ship continued for about 8 minutes with all 6 of its engines and made it to second engine cutoff, where we heard good orbital insertion, and we've been coasting in space for the last few minutes. Now we're getting ready to deploy our very first real Starlink version 3 satellites. The door will be opening here in just about 6 seconds from now. Now, we won't have the same views as we did on Flight 12 of our payload. We don't have those cameras on board these Starship version 3s. That was a Dodger Dog exclusive, but we will be able to see them deploy from the ship.
Där hade vi payload door som öppnades då, alltså lastrumsdörren. Ska vi se om det kommer några satelliter här också då. Ska se om de byter in till...
We should see the door open up really soon. We haven't quite gotten it open already. We've got 20 of these Starlink
Vi ser om vi får
V3
se inuti då.
satellites. Looks like the
Igen.
PEZ door is open. And so, yeah, this is the first time we've got Starlink V3 satellites getting ready to go into space. And I mean, these things are really just kind of crazy upgrades that they're going to bring to the network, where you start talking about just symmetric gigabit speeds through the Starlink network pretty much anywhere on the planet that this is going to unlock. So really exciting. These satellites are only going to be in space for about 20 minutes.
Det är ljusbarn.
Sorry about that. These will only be in space for about 20 minutes, as they're on the same suborbital trajectory as Starship itself. This is essentially just giving us a chance to try and run as many tests as possible, deploy the solar arrays, antennas, whatever we can on these vehicles. We are intentionally being a little scrappy with it. They might be playing some bumper cars once they're out of the door, but we are looking to get these deployed over the next couple of minutes. In the meantime, they're getting ready to also do the Raptor in space relight. Listening to a little bit of conversation on that, but we are currently tracking to do it. I'll give you some updates if we hear otherwise.
Nu så, tack. Ska vi se.
And there you go. You can see our
It's a great.
first Starlink V3 getting deployed out of Starship.
Huge milestone for the team out here.
Yeah, the
Okay.
crowd is definitely
Lyckad.
hyped about this. We could see
Ja,
these
lyckad.
Starlink V3s continuing to pop out with deployment assisted by the PEZ dispenser. Now, this version of Starship is built to deploy up to 60 of these more advanced Starlink version 3 satellites. Each V3 is designed to offer 1 terabit per second of downlink capacity. Now, let's put that into Falcon 9 terms real quick. A Starship launch with V3 satellites will launch 20 times the capacity into the constellation as a single launch of V2 satellites on Falcon 9. Just incredible.
And anybody that follows Starship, you know that the views that we're being treated to right now, the views we get during those re-entries, that's made possible by Starlink. It's given us just this unprecedented look into Starship as it's flying through space, hurtling through the atmosphere. It's powering the dozens of cameras we have on board. It's giving us real-time data on every system that's telemetered on board that vehicle in real time.
Det här är också
We
coolt,
use the
men vi
exact
ser typ
same
ingenting.
constellation to power all of
Jag vill
our
gärna se
cameras
lite
that
mer
we
på
have
listan.
out in the field here in the Indian Ocean. So really powerful technology for just connecting you no matter where the heck you are on the planet, off the planet. So thank you, Starlink, for letting me watch this stuff as we fly through space. It's pretty awesome. We get about 240 megabits per second of data rate off Starship, which everybody in the spaceflight community knows that's pretty insane when you're usually dealing with single digits on some of the older systems. So gives you a lot of insight, gives you a lot of ability to just rapidly iterate and know what the heck happened when things go wrong. But looks like we're seeing some more satellites get out the door. We do have cameras on some of them. The last couple that are going to go out are going to try and do the heat shield imaging that we attempted last flight. We don't have that camera view that we got on Flight 12 where you kind of see the satellite leaving Starship. Those aren't on the V3 satellites, but we are going to, on the last couple that go out, have some pretty narrow field view cameras that are going to be looking back at Starship, turn on some flashlights. And this is a test of a capability that we're really going to want when we start doing orbital flights, to just add that extra layer of safety, that extra layer of reliability, where we're going to be able to image Starship's heat shield after it's gone through ascent, after it's been in space, before it re-enters. So we're going to try to test that again today. The heat shield imaging, we didn't get a whole lot last time. Ooh, looks like we got some thunderstorms on planet Earth below us. But a couple more satellites to go, it looks like.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see our V3s in space. I want to give a shout out to our Starlink colleagues. And we expect payload deploy to run until about 27.5 minutes, so about another 7 minutes here. The Starlink team will be attempting to speedrun these tests, speedrun test these version 3 satellites, where they will attempt to do a few tests such as extend the new solar arrays and antennas. They're also going to try and connect these V3 satellites with ground stations and turn on the satellite's communication systems. Now, they're only going to have about 20 minutes or so to do all of this, as these satellites only have that long before they demise in the atmosphere or break up due to that friction when they re-enter the atmosphere. So what we learn from today's deployment will help progress and move the program forward, which is super exciting. You could basically say that the payload's payload is data.
That's right.
We're getting very Inception here. Now, in addition to those tests for Starlink, for the Starlink team, as Dan mentioned, 6 of the satellites have been modified with engineering cameras to help scan Starship's heat shield. That will help inform our analysis of Starship's readiness for future catch returns back here at our launch site. So for those that might be unfamiliar, we are currently capable of catching our super heavy booster, and we've done that a couple of times. We have not yet attempted to catch our second stage or ship, and so that is going to be a very exciting milestone when that day comes.
For sure, and we're building up to it with today's test. We are still planning to do our water splashdown in the Indian Ocean, so stay tuned for that. That's only about 40 minutes away, but still in space, we keep on deploying our Starlink satellites. Again, these are our V3 version of our Starlink satellites, of added capabilities to our version 2 that's currently in orbit.
And this is our team here at Starbase, Texas.
These are all of the team members that have helped build the vehicle, that have built the Pez dispenser and got it ready to fly today. Amazing work.
Now, for those of you that have just recently tuned in, there is a spaceship in your screen, we promise. Right now, the ship is in orbital darkness, so we don't have any available sunlight from the sun to help illuminate the scene. But what you can see moving out from that smally lit space, those are the V3 satellites as they are being deployed. And essentially, the ship is illuminated from the inside, and so we're able to see the light come out through the payload door.
Right. Just a really small sliver of light at the top. That's our Pez dispenser. That's how we're both loading our satellites into the rocket and deploying it. It's pretty novel. We've got about 3.5 minutes still left of our payload deploy sequence.
Yep, looks like we've got 16 satellites deployed, so 4 more to go. These last couple will have those cameras, so if you see any sudden bright lights, that'll be flashlights turning on those satellites to try and get some imagery of Starship's heat shield. 17 out the door, 3 more to go, and 18.
B13 var det.
All right, and while we wait for these last 2, we did confirm we are still go for our Raptor relight demonstration a little bit later in the flight today, so we will be looking to relight one of those Raptor engines on ship. And that'll be our next major milestone after we get through these final 2 satellites.
Ja, det var i alla fall, de hade en booster som de tog upp ifrån vattnet. Och den, undrar om de kommer ta upp den här också. Just för att
just at 25 minutes into our flight, it's crazy to think that we're already screaming at 27,000 kilometers an hour, 200 kilometers above the ocean surface. Amazing.
Yeah. Now, for those of you that lost count, we have deployed almost all of our 20 Starlink satellites. I believe our last count was at 18, so we should be seeing 2 more. And we're very excited to see our version 3 satellites in space. And these are fully, these are real satellites.
Right.
They're not just demonstration sats like we had last time. These are going to basically have a 20-minute lifespan where our Starlink engineering team will attempt to perform a number of tests and really speed run those tests during that time.
Right. And in terms of satellite lifespans, 20 minutes is
Inte
it's
som det
the
händer
shortest you
speciellt
could
mycket.
possibly get. But hopefully in that 20-minute time frame, we can really try and ink out as many tests
Det
as
blir
we
ljus på
can.
den i alla fall, säger vi.
It looks like we might have some, this might actually be light from one of the Starlink satellites. As we mentioned before, a few of them, 6 of them actually are equipped with flashlights to look back at Starship, as we want to image the heat shield and understand the heat shield performance through the ascent phase, as this information is very important for us to know and understand as we prepare for operations that will enable ship to come back to Starbase for landing, for catch, I should say.
Right. We are about 40 seconds away from that planned payload deployment sequence being complete.
Jag har inte sett några fler
It looks
satelliter
like
än.
we've just got those last 2 to go.
Ja,
These ones might be coming
just-
out up there, starting to see motion.
Där kom det ut. Oj. Ja. Det var bara en glitch.
19 out the door, 1 more.
Där kommer den sista då. Ja, det var lite
Looks
avbrott.
like we got a crowd at our Hawthorne, California location. Some colleagues gathering outside of mission control there as well.
Jag kanske inte vill visa
That
satelliterna
marks,
på...
if I'm not mistaken, our 20th. So our payload deploy sequence is now complete. Starship will now close its payload bay door and continue to coast around Earth to the Indian Ocean. Still a lot of major events to come today, including our Raptor relight burn at T
Oh,
plus 38
det var snygg.
minutes,
Jag
58
har inte sett
seconds,
förut.
followed by atmospheric re-entry, where the heat shield will be put to test and eventually our splashdown.
Kan
So
du
with
säga
that,
hit sidan också?
we're going to go ahead and go on to another quick coast.
Yeah, so sit tight, enjoy the views, and of course some more space jams, and we will come back here at T plus 37 minutes for our Raptor engine relight and of course Starship re-entry.
Kul med lite ljus i rymden för en gångs skull. Ja. Skulle vilja se när de vänder, för de måste ju snurra runt skeppet om de ska... Eller satelliten eller liknande. Man tycker mig se satelliter på vänstersidan där. 2 prickar. 2, 4. Ja. Undrar om det är lamporna. Nej, kanske inte det. Eller? Är det? De kan ju också flytta runt satelliterna lite. Fränt.
TVC checkouts. TVC checkouts complete.
Liten wing flap. På andra sidan. Ja, kvaliteten beror ju på att det är mörkt. Jag tycker mig se satelliterna där i bakgrunden. Det här är fränt. vi se, det ska vara engine relight också så småningom här. Ska vi se när det var. Relight demo 38 00 38 58. Det är alltså 8 minuter kvar ungefär. Ska vi se, det ser väl ut som att de åker runt lite satelliterna, va? Jag tycker vi har ljus längre ner på den. Så flappar de lite. Grannar, ja, nu ser vi att ljuset har skiftat i alla fall, så att de åker nog runt Boostern, runt Starship där. Ser verkligt kommer lite längre, det kommer längre ner och så flyttas det. Så att de, ja. Ja, precis. Nu ser det bra ut för att kolla in heatshielden. Och det gör de ju för att se hur mycket som har släppt och inte släppt. Alltså för att kunna få en vy innan de kör ett återinträde då, så att säga. Det ser ut som att de ligger på rätt sida. Det skulle vara intressant att höra ifall det gick som de hade tänkt. Det här också. Nu ligger de rätt, så nu ser de framsidan eller undersidan på skeppet, satelliterna då, så det är ju helt korrekt. Kan man säga det att Starship version 3 har ju faktiskt fungerat bättre än Booster version 3. Men man får ju säga att version 2 av Starship hade ju jättemycket problem med både allt och inget egentligen. Alltså de hade väldigt mycket problem med innan de ens kom. Alltså de kunde provlanda den i vattnet. Och ja, det var ju version 2 av skeppet där. Version 3 av skeppet har väl vet du, inte justerat sin utformning jättemycket kontra version 2 då, förutom att de har bytt till Raptor 3. Medan, i alla fall vad jag tror. Sen så är det ju så att vet du, de kanske har gjort en del förändringar på skeppet som inte syns och sådär. Men version 2 av skeppet och version 3 av skeppet har ungefär någorlunda samma struktur liksom. De bytte till så de har separata downcomers för de här vacuummotorerna då, som de har tre. De har 3 vacuummotorer och de har 3 sea-level motorer. Alltså de 3 sea-level används ju vid vid landning, och de 3 Raptor som är vacuum, de används ju vid rymden då, så att säga. Deras nozzles som man kallar, alltså utblås som man ska säga, är mer utformade för att köra i rymden. Och de bytte väldigt under version 2 här så bytte de ju så att de hade 3 stycken rör som går till de 3 yttre motorerna då. Och sen så hade de ju hur mycket problem, det var ju jättemycket failures med Starship version 2. Och de kraschar ju, de exploderar ju, de kraschar kanske inte, men de exploderade för tidigt. De kom inte till landning och till slut när man har fixat landningen här då, och sen bytte till version 3 så verkar det inte som att det har påverkat skeppet speciellt mycket. Medans Boostern som har, skeppet har ju bara 6 motorer och Boostern har ju faktiskt 33 motorer, så att och de är ju kraftfullare och de drar mer soppa, så att det kan ju ha lite med det att göra också, att de drar, alltså de kanske måste liksom öka typ någon diameter på några rör eller något sånt där för att det ska fungera som det ska. Man vet aldrig, men det kan vara mycket sånt där eftersom att det är mycket fler motorer där och de drar mer soppa och de är kraftfullare och sådär, så kan vara sådana grejer som sätter käpparna i hjulen, medan de på Starship inte har 33 motorer. Så att om man tänker att en Raptor Engine version 3, vi säger att den drar 5% mer, jag har ingen aning, men säg att de drar 5% mer bränsle och så tar det gånger 6, det kanske är hanterbart, men om du tar det gånger 33 så kanske inte det blir hanterbart längre. Men det är bara en ren spekulation.
Welcome back once again to the Flight 13 webcast. If you're just joining us, our newest version of Starship, which you see there on your screen,
engine relight på gång.
20 Starlink version 3 satellites. And I've got great news to share. Not only were we able to make contact with all 20, but we also made comms over lasers with all of them as well. So that is awesome. Hell yeah, shout out to our Starlink team. We're so thrilled.
Huge milestone. And that's only 3 minutes or 5 minutes after deploying them. I mean, that's crazy.
Amazing. And right now, we are expecting a relight of a single Raptor engine, and that's going to be coming up in just over a minute and a half from now.
That's right. We are going to be lighting one of our sea-level Raptor engines, and this is essentially just a demonstration that you can relight an engine after it's already done its ascent burn. And this is going to be really important when we do maneuvers for orbital missions, whether we're relighting to go into orbit, or if you're already in orbit and you're getting ready to do a deorbit burn. We did hear our Raptor team is go for the engine relight, so not going to be skipping it on this one. So we should see that coming up in just about 45 seconds from now. Again, this is not a deorbit burn for this ship. We are on a suborbital trajectory, so this Starship is coming back over the Indian Ocean no matter what. But this is going to be a pretty critical test for what we'll eventually need to do when we do orbital
det är mycket sämre kamerabilder på den här flygningen.
Do a burn to get yourself out of orbit. One thing that is unique on this one is we're going to be lighting it for a little bit longer of a time. We're expecting this burn to be up to about 14 seconds. We've only done about 3 seconds previously.
Jag har tagit upp motordiagrammet i höger.
Within the next couple of seconds. Let's stand by.
Se. Där, en igång. Jag vet inte om vi ser något. Det ser ut som det händer någonting.
You see a relight there on your screen.
Där stängdes den av.
Wow.
And confirmation over the net. Relight shutdown. The burn has ended. Congrats to the team on this milestone. I mean, it's crazy to see how we can maneuver in space, and just another icing on the cake for today's mission. So
ska se om de fixar.
We'll be back in a couple of minutes before re-entry, which is targeted for about T+47 minutes. So we'll see you soon.
Ja, tydligen då så lyckades de. Jag såg inte hur länge den var igång dock, men vi får se sen om de lyckas att tända alla motorer när de ska landa då. Det är också spännande att se ifall de lyckas med det. Det har ju varit lite problem med det också på den här versionen. Men den har funkat betydligt mycket bättre än själva Boostern. Så att ja, vi får se om den klarar sig bättre den här gången då. För om vi klarar det så är vi närmare ett catch med skeppet, men jag tror även att de kommer köra, om allting sätts sig nu på den här flygningen, om allting går igenom, om allting går igenom och fungerar som det ska, så tror jag att de kommer köra en gång till, flight 14, och sätter de då landningen igen med Starship med allting fungerande. Då tror jag nog att de kommer prova en catch på skeppet på flight 15 sen faktiskt. Sätter de även Boostern nästa gång till 100%, så kan det också innebära att de försöker fånga Boostern. Men jag vet inte om de kommer fånga dem samtidigt. Det kan vara så att de bara väljer en av dem. Oklart. Det ska bli intressant att se hur de gör det, för att det tar... Ja, om de fångar Boostern så måste de safea den och sen frakta bort den, och det tror jag inte de hinner. Kanske. Jag vet inte, de åker för sig bara över halva jordklotet med Starship nu. Så att klarar de av att göra det, safea och ta bort Boostern på en timme, så är det nog möjligt att de kan fånga skeppet också på samma ton. Ja, vi får se. Spännande. Så länge så funkar skeppet helt felfritt. Så att vi får se när den landar sen om det funkar lika bra. Vi har ju som sagt 47 är 5 minuter kvar till re-entry då. Då börjar det och glöda och vi får lite fräsiga bilder. Utöver det så händer inte så mycket mer. Så jag tar en kort liten paus och kommer tillbaka alldeles strax. Så länge så får ni njuta av den här härliga musiken här.
Starship is starting entry. Good attitude for entry.
Welcome back once again to Starship Flight 13, the second test flight of Starship version 3. As you can see by these pretty cool views on your screen, the ship is currently re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Now, we probably have some first-time viewers tuning in today, so let's talk about this phase.
Right, so re-entry, it's a critical phase of flight, and we need information on how the ship's systems perform. So re-entry, you can see that speed in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. We have to scrub all of that speed down so that way we can safely land. It's a lot of energy to be able to scrub down, and it's all the energy that we just used to launch the rocket as well. So Starlink will also help us gather as much data as possible, which is really the main reason why we do these flight tests, is to see how the ship performs in space and evaluate how it works. Starlink provides us with one more path to collect data to help us rapidly iterate Starship's design.
Yeah, exactly. And if the ship manages to again make it all the way through re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on the spacecraft flying through the Earth's atmosphere, and it's doing so at hypersonic speeds, or more than 5 times the speed of sound. Re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with spacecraft because it's re-entering at or around orbital velocity, which is roughly 8 kilometers per second or about 5 miles per second. So at those speeds, the spacecraft is moving through the atmosphere so fast that it creates a plasma field around the vehicle.
That blanket of plasma distorts communication frequencies, so it's not uncommon to experience brief blackouts in communication. Starship is designed to land on Mars, where there are no runways or other humans to help out, which is exactly why we're testing this landing procedure that we're doing today. And we're doing these propulsive landings instead of more traditional means like parachutes, because propulsive landing...
control of the vehicle.
You heard that call out, flaps do have control of the vehicle. You can actually see one view, your screen moving around. That's actually a camera affixed to the flap. So as I was saying, we're testing these, doing these landings instead of more traditional means, so that way propulsive landing, we can enable more rapid reusability.
Yeah. Now, we did just hear that call out. We should continue to hear some call outs as the ship makes its way back to Earth. Now, when we hear something called entry max heating, as well as entry max Q, that means that the ship has made it through the maximum heating and aerodynamic loads that it experiences as it returns. So, safe to say that if it makes it through those specific points, we're doing pretty well.
That's right, so we'll continue to hear multiple call-outs as we go through this phase. One of those call-outs will be that the ship is transonic. We'll also hear another one when it's subsonic. Transonic will be referring to the period of flight where velocities of airflow surrounding and flowing past the vehicle are concurrently below, at, and above the speed of sound, so somewhere in the range of Mach 0.8 to 1.2. For reference, commercial jets have a range of cruising speeds, but most fly at roughly Mach 0.74, 0.85. Just for reference, that's between 480 miles per hour to 575 miles per hour, or 770 to 930 kilometers an hour. And subsonic, another call out that you'll hear later on in the stream, subsonic will refer to speeds that are much less than the speed of sound. So at this point in flight, the ship's velocity will be slowing down drastically. So with re-entry well underway, we'll take another break and return just before the ship's landing burn, targeted for T plus 1 hour and 5 minutes.
Ja, nu är jag också tillbaka här. Så, ja. Så kommer vi få en lightshow som vanligt med det här. Se om det håller igenom. Men jag tror inte att det kommer vara något problem med. För Starship har haft sen Starship testflygning, ja, 1 och 2 och 3 gick det ju inte jättebra kanske, men ända sedan de har kommit till det här steget så har de ju förbättrat skeppsdesignen avsevärt, och de senaste återinträdena som de har haft med skeppet då, så har det allting i det här steget fungerat bra så att säga, och det är mer sällan när man kommer fram emot mot landningen då, som det är lite olika resultat beroende på hur motorerna har mått under tiden, men tycker det ser bra ut, och ska bli kul att se om de klarar sig ännu bättre. Som sagt, tilesen sitter ju kvar och det... Jag vet inte, skeppet känns för min del ganska solid. Det har ju aldrig liksom exploderat på vägen ner här. Det har aldrig hänt. De har ju pushat det ganska hårt så att... ja. Får se om det håller ihop med mig. Men det, som sagt, jag ser inte varför det inte skulle göra det. Det är intressant är landningen sen. De har ju lyckats att få till flapsen så att det håller, ingen burn through. Alltså, det är helt otroligt hur långt de har kommit på det här egentligen, att det funkar. Det är en helt ny farkost så att säga. Så att de har lyckats att forma till det här så pass bra som de har gjort då. Det är ju kanon liksom. Så de har ju faktiskt lyckats med att skicka ut riktiga satelliter nu då. Så att nästa steg är ju faktiskt att gå till alltså omloppsbana då. Och driftsätta Starship. Men har de Boostern och de kan alltid jobba på Boostern. Det är liksom... Ja, inga problem liksom. Utan de kan jobba på Boostern medan de har skeppet igång. Men det bästa vore om de kunde fånga skeppet också då såklart. Just så att de kan få lite bättre inspektioner då. Just där. På skeppet. Och så har de 1 timme och... Vi ser 1 timme och 2 minuter är nästa steg. Om 10 minuter så ska det vara alltså transonic då. Subsonic det skulle ju vara under 1000 km i timmen har jag förstått det som. Får vi se om de lyckas med det. Som sagt, de har ju en hel del hastighet att ta bort här. Så att jag vet inte hur det gick med Boostern där, men det får vi ta och kika på lite grann sen. Jag tänkte att jag ska kolla det lite senare här. Ser hur värmeskölden glöder där bak. Inget konstigt. Ska se ut så. Står där på ena flaps axeln typ, man kan säga. Nu har vi ökat. De skulle också flyga in en liten steep, alltså lite brantare vinkel som jag läste instruktionen här, så får vi se om det är något som kommer påverka här. Nu dödar de hastighet ganska fort här. Kan det vara 10 sekunder per, alltså 1000 kilometer per, jag ska säga med 15 sekunder kanske. Jag tar och kollar lite här. Vi ser, de kommer upp 20 000 km timmen här. Kan vi se hur långt det tar att komma ner till 19. Där är de på 27. 55-27. Oj. Det har gått 20 sekunder ner på hälften. Ja, ungefär 40 sekunder drar de ner ungefär 1000 km i timmen. Det är ganska bra bromsda. De ska ner till runt 800 km i timmen i alla fall. Det ska bli intressant att se när de fångar första skeppet, för det ska bli häftigt att se vilket skick den skeppet liksom befinner sig i när den väl landat. Nu börjar vi se lite ljus här. Se lite molnpartier. Fortsätter att bromsa gött. Ser vi lite sol på molnen här, så vi har soluppgång på gång. Ser väl bra ut än så länge, tycker jag. Ser inte att det är något som är... Jag har inte fått sett så många vyer i för sig då, men... Men det... Ja. Ingen... Jag kan se som har brunnit igenom i alla fall. Kanske att jag ser glöd. Här. Jag vet inte riktigt vad det kan vara för någonting. Jag har en annan bild på andra sidan. Ser också bra ut, tycker jag. Ingen burn through där heller. Ser samma röda punkt där på den sidan. Jag ser snart under 10 000 km i timmen. Börjar se dagsljus mer. Just ser lite hur det ser ut. Som sagt, jag tror att maximala värmen är borta just nu, så att vi har nog överlevt där. Som sagt, jag trodde det inte skulle vara något problem, men man vet ju aldrig.
Starship is leaving the peak heating phase of entry. External temperatures are coming down.
Ja, precis. De har ju även haft trycksensorer, ska de ha på det här skeppet, som kan känna av trycket på tilesen. Alltså värmeskölden då, för att se hur Du får lite mer förståelse för hur det fungerar. Alltså det är ju en helt ny farkost typ. Alltså det är mycket grejer som de testar.
Starship is at maximum entry dynamic pressure.
Så att, ja. Att det börjar se ut som en riktig farkost och ja, inte någon testartikel längre är ju, tycker jag, märks. Och jag blir mer en förfinad farkost att säga.
Starship is executing the swoosh maneuver. Dynamic pressure is coming down.
Ja, då börjar vi närma oss landning för Starship. De gör han kallar det för swish-manöver. Det innebär alltså att de kör typ en U-sväng. Så,
the second flight of Starship version 3. As you can see on your screen with crisp views from Starlink, the ship is currently re-entering the Earth's atmosphere over the Indian Ocean. And really for the last several minutes, we had some amazing Technicolor views. It really looked like it was made out of starlight. Now, we did hear on the nets just moments ago that we made it through max heating and max dynamic pressure, meaning that the vehicle temperature and speeds and pressure are all coming down, and we can see that in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen as that speed continues to decelerate. We're coming up to the ship landing burn, one of pretty much everybody's favorite part of Starship test flight days. And that's going to be coming up here in just about a minute or so.
Yeah, just about a minute away. We're going to try and light all 3 Raptor sea
Ska
level
vi se hur det
engines
går
for
för dem.
this burn. We'll light 3, do the flip. We'll eventually go down to 2 as we get close down to the water, down mode to a final 1 engine before we hopefully execute a nice soft splashdown. We'll see if we've got our buoys and drones in range with the recovery team. They're going to be standing by to try and get additional views of Starship's heat shield, which from kind of our initial looks, it did pretty well on the flight uphill, but we'll continue to dig through all the visual data as we get it. We didn't do any real stress tests or anything on this flight. We did do, you heard our landing Larsh flight controller call out. We were doing the swoosh maneuver. This is kind of the final maneuver that we plan to have Starships returning to Starbase do, that will essentially hook them out over the Gulf before coming in and over Tower 2. But about 10 seconds away, look for 3 Raptors, the 3 in the middle to light up, do a flip. Let's see if we can get this thing in the water.
1, 2, 3.
3 sea level flip.
3 igång. En tappar de där. 92 verkar vara så fritt.
down to one.
Det såg bra ut. Och så, baboom!
And we're in the water.
Eller?
And it's a soft splashdown in the water.
Där börjar det brinna i alla fall. Men exploderar den.
That is a first.
Ja.
That is the softest splashdown we have ever
Den är
had
hel.
in the Starship.
Den är
there in
hel.
the
Aldrig
Indian
hänt
Ocean.
förut.
It's bound to be an exciting day for our recovery team. I mean, that huge milestone to even get to soft splashdown, much less have the vehicle stay afloat.
Yeah.
Och sen exploderar, eller vad som händer. Det är första gången jag inte sett att det exploderat.
Texas. Everyone's super excited. We never really get to see Starship floating so serenely in the Indian Ocean, so we're certainly enjoying these
Hur
extended
safear de det där egentligen? Det är en liten fråga. Om man... Kommer vi se en Starship komma tillbaka till...
Tyler, how is Hawthorne feeling about
Kommer vi se en Starship komma tillbaka till...
Hey, Kate, we are so excited about another successful Starship test flight and those gorgeous Starlink views that we had. And we can also confirm that we managed to make contact with all 20 of those V3 sats. So it's a massive day for us. So congratulations to everyone at the team at Starlink for Starlink, everyone here and around the company who've contributed to the Starship program as we make progress again towards a multiplanetary future. So thank you everyone for tuning in.
För det här innebär att de faktiskt kan dra tillbaks det.
Thanks so much, Tyler.
Hur de nu ska få upp det i vattnet, det vet jag inte, men...
Who perhaps missed the action, I suggest that you rewind the clock. Wow, look at that view of the Starship heat shield tiles. You can really see how the atmospheric re-entry, how it disperses the heat around the edge of the vehicle. I don't think we've seen quite that close before.
Never, and honestly, however short-lived that ship standing, bobbing in the water is, that is insane data for our team. It's unbelievable that we were able to keep that ship afloat. Now, we promised maximum excitement, and Starship V3 delivered. Congratulations to all of our teammates at SpaceX and to everyone who supported the Starship program. And thank you to all of our future customers for your support.
Yeah, as you could tell, the crowd really enjoyed that Nemo cam for a moment. We'd also like to thank the fine people of Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the Government of Mexico.
The amazing views do not end, so be sure to follow SpaceX on X for updates and more of these exciting shots that we didn't get to feature on today's broadcast.
And to get an inside real-time look at the teams bringing this incredible rocket to life, check out the latest episode of our documentary series, Starship. And of course, thanks to all of you for tuning in. And we're going to head back up to Dan for some additional thoughts.
Yeah, I'm losing my mind right now. We are still getting views from on board the ship with it in the water. Like, we had tried in the past to do these splashdowns as softly as possible. We experimented with rolls. This is the first time we've put an intact Starship in the water. This is a dream scenario for the team that's trying to get this heat shield data. Normally you're working with a slightly charred Starship in the water, and now we have one intact. So the recovery team is moving in with their drones, and we are still getting views from Starship. It is sending these via Starlink from the other side of the world while it is floating in the water after flying through space. Like, this is just completely surreal right now.
Hur har de kontakt med det där egentligen? För det är jättesjukt. Den ligger åt fel håll.
Amount of data that we're going to get back.
Starlink satelliterna sitter ju Starlink sitter ju på andra sidan.
The really good news is all of these views that we're seeing, you're looking at a pretty intact looking heat shield, which, as a reminder, we were flying at a significantly higher dynamic pressure, so putting way more stress on this vehicle on the way uphill. And it's sitting there in the water, and I mean, look at it. So,
Tester, okay.
I'm a little bit over the moon on this. I know a lot of our team is just fascinated in the control room behind me. I mean, everybody is psyched. Everyone's gathered around their computers looking at these close-ups that we're getting of these heat shield tiles. 18,000 of them. I mean, you can probably count the ones that are missing right now on one hand. Like, this is just absolutely incredible. And the fact that, like, the cameras on board the ship are still sending back video is just a little bit surreal. So,
det är kul.
Lucky number 13.
13 eller?
Hell of a
Ja,
flight for Starship. Get it all the way there in the water. Really
Brinner
great day
lite
for version
ibland,
3.
men
So,
kan de ta den här tillbaka?
all right.
Det är frågan.
As Kate and Nate said, we're going to keep releasing more of this. Stay tuned. We've got some really cool stuff from some of the onboards that we caught. So keep following us on X at SpaceX. Whole bunch more cool imagery from launch from the flight that's going to be coming out soon. Yeah, let's just close on that. I mean, look at Starship in the Indian Ocean. That's fantastic. We'll see you all back here for the next flight test of Starship version 3. With that, we'll say goodbye.
Okej. Hyfsat bra flygning. Det är bara boostern som är ett problem, skulle jag säga. Jag tänker vi tar och kika lite hur det ser ut där. På den.
Starship flights. 33 Raptor engines
behind
me here.
Vi kan få lite...
And improve continuously from production before the sat's demise. Twice as much.
Together.
Vi kan få...
We are going to be closing out our...
Om vi hade... Vi ser...
Major moment.
Då har vi alltså... Här ska vi se lite grann vad det är som händer här. För det gick lite fort. Vi ser.
Coming up on max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Spola lite grann. Men här ser det bra ut. De har fortfarande andra motorer igång. Spola fram lite grann. Det var inte för långt. Där har vi den. Det är boosten där. Där har vi stängt av alla utom 5. Och där har vi stage separation. Det ser ut som att den flyger åt rätt håll här för mig. Jag såg någonstans. Jag vet inte. Alla 33 är igång. Där stängde de ner yttre ringen. Det ser rätt ut. Där ner till 3. Och sen... De sa att det var det där.
And boost back burn shut down. So it looks like we were able to get through the boost back burn. It looks like we lit all 33 initially. Now we're down to 13. We're seeing 6 out of 6 Raptors lit on the ship.
Back burn shut down.
And boost back burn shut down. So it looks like we were able to get through the boost back burn this time around. It was one of the key objectives we didn't have on the last flight.
Så ser vi ju att den är på väg tillbaka här. Allt det här ser bra ut.
We are going to be planning to do an ocean splashdown just off the coast of Starbase. So hoping to still get some amazing views of that.
Pretty awesome to see the Raptor engines there on the left-hand side of your screen. We can actually see the plume there of those center Raptors. Those are the sea level ones, as well as the vacuum Raptors are the 3 on the larger ones on the outer radius.
Vi ser. Va? Bort.
Now, just like on tower catches, we are going to be doing a 13 engine landing burn to slow the booster down. Hopefully we can get a live camera of the booster right now as we're going into that phase. Awesome shot, you can see it there. So right now the booster is using their 3 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through the atmosphere toward its landing site. You can see we're only 5 kilometers above the sea right here.
Då skrev man om det 13. Och det är ju inte, då ska alla tändas sig.
landing burn to slow the booster down. Hopefully we can get a live camera of the booster right now as we're going into that phase. Awesome shot, you can see it there. So right now the booster is using their 3 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through the atmosphere
13, alla
toward
utom
its
yttre
landing
ringen ska
site.
tända
You
sig.
can see we're only 5 kilometers above the sea right here.
Startup.
Och där tände sig bara
Just heard the call out for landing burn
alla
startup for
utom
the booster.
5 och sen så
I have a feeling the crowd's about to go wild here.
And another awesome landing for Super Heavy. Congratulations to all the teams here at Starbase and at our space.
hur många tände sig?
At your screen, we can actually see the plume there of those center raptors. Those are the sea level ones, as well as the vacuum raptors are the 3 on the larger ones on the outer radius.
Now, just like on tower catches, we are going to be doing a 13 engine landing burn to slow the booster down. Hopefully we can get a live camera of the booster right now as we're going into that phase. Awesome shot, you can see it there. So right now the booster is using their 3 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through the atmosphere toward its landing site. You can see we're only 5 kilometers above the sea right here.
Startup.
Ska vi se. Vi har alltså 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 motorer av 13. Det är nästan hälften som är borta. Men vi hade lite fler. Vi hade lite fler i början. Va?
Awesome shot, you can see it there. So right now the booster is using their 3 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through the atmosphere toward its landing site. You can see we're only 5 kilometers above the sea right here.
Där har vi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Så vi saknar 4 fortfarande. Men det ser inte ut som det är samma 4 vi hade förut, utan det är andra 4. Saknar 1, 2, 3, 4, de 2. De 4. Och sen så faller 2 bort. Och som sagt, tanken är att den ska bromsa in med 13 motorer. Så att det är klart att inte det är när den bara har 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Det saknas 6 motorer. Du tappar väldigt mycket momentum då. Och sen så helt plötsligt så blir det ner till 1, 2, 3, 4 motorer.
I have a feeling the crowd's about to go wild here.
Jag vet ju inte om hur datorn på Super Heavy fungerar riktigt, men de har ju faktiskt då alltså om den går på höjd eller om den går på hastighet eller vad den går på, men i slutet så har den ju bara 4 motorer igång. Det är ju inte riktigt, det är inte så bra. Så där har de någonting att jobba på. Varför de inte tände sig, det kan bero på mycket. Det kan bero på bränsle, det kan bero på vad som helst. Jag vet inte hur mycket bränsle han hade kvar. Du ser att det är väldigt lite bränsle kvar i tankarna här. Egentligen. Jag vill se vart vi har. Oj, det var lite långt där. Vi ser. Kolla bränslet här.
Standing by for hot staging.
För här funkar ju alla perfekt. Det är lite weird att de dör så ner dit.
All but 5 engines down.
Frågan om man har stängt av dem.
6 ignite. And the booster now doing its boost back burn. It looks like we lit all 33 initially. Now we're down to 13. We're seeing 6 out of 6 Raptors lit on the ship.
Sen ner till 3. Bränsle finns det ju kvar. Så det är inget konstigt.
and boost back burn shut down. So it looks like we were able to get through the boost back burn this time around.
Men
It
det
was
ser
one of
som
the key
det...
objectives we didn't have on the last flight.
Eller? Nej.
And we've got 6 engines lit on the ship. All right, so that's the first of 2 burns that the booster is going to be doing to kind of send it back towards us. It's going to be landing a couple of miles offshore from Starbase, hopefully. We're going to try and get it all the way down to do a landing burn, where we're going to use those 13 center engines. They're going to ignite. That's what's going to really bleed off all that velocity that it's built up. And it'll eventually, hopefully, transition to 5 engines from down there.
Second stage. We are there of those.
To guide itself through the atmosphere.
Jag vet inte. Det är väldigt lite bränsle kvar i alla fall. Det kan vi se.
Toward its landing site. You can see we're
Kanske är bränsle som är problemet här. Du ser väldigt lite bränsle.
Just heard the call out for landing burn startup for the
Så jag vet
booster.
inte om det kan vara det som är struligt. Men...
I have a feeling the crowd's about to go wild here.
Skulle kunna vara. Skulle kunna vara.
And another awesome landing for Super Heavy. Congratulations to all the teams here at Starbase and
after
flying. Hur såg vi
Get to
landningen
life. Check
då?
out the latest.
Vi ser någonting.
We didn't do any real stress tests or anything on this flight. We did do, you heard our landing large flight controller call out. We were doing this swoosh maneuver. This is kind of the final maneuver that we plan to have starships returning to Starbase do, that will essentially hook them out over the Gulf before coming in and over Tower 2. But about 10 seconds away, look for 3 Raptors, the 3 in the middle, to light up, do a flip. Let's see if we can get this thing in the water.
Den här har mer bränsle kvar om man kollar bränsletanken. Där är vi igång med motorerna. Syns inte när för då går mindre där i vägen. Får vi någon snygg. Nu vi ser något mer. Vi är här. Där är 2 nere. Och sen så har vi en drönare där som...
Into the Indian Ocean. Down to 1. And we're in the water. And it's a soft splashdown in the water.
Ja, imponerande att de fixar det, faktiskt. Kul att se.
That is the softest splashdown we have ever had with the Starship there in the Indian Ocean.
It's bound to be an exciting day for our recovery team. I mean, that huge milestone to even get to soft splashdown, much less have the vehicle stay afloat.
Yeah, the teams are super high.
Ja, jag har inte så mycket mer att säga än så. Spännande flygning. Enligt plan i princip. De har lite att jobba på med Boostern. Annars så känns det som att de har kommit ganska långt. Jag skulle tro att det behövs en till flygning här för att sätta det sista här innan de försöker ett catch av någon av farkosterna. Och ja, vi får helt enkelt se vart detta leder. Men detta var min sändning från raketstart. Vi kommer troligtvis byta namn här framöver. Och ja, vi håller på att rycka upp lite min sändning här så att den är lite mer professionell. Och vi håller på med jag håller på med lite nya loggar och sånt där så att det ska bli kul. Men det var allt från mig idag och tack till alla som vill titta in här och kolla tillsammans med mig. Så ses vi helt enkelt någon annan dag här. Troligtvis så är det ju en ny uppskjutning inom de sa att de skulle skjuta upp inom en månad här, men vi får väl se hur det går med det. Jag vet att de har både skeppet och Boostern redo. De har gjort cryotest på båda två. Så det är motorinstallation näst. Men de kanske avvaktar lite tills de har fått datan inifrån det här först innan de gör någonting. Så att de kan ändra på och testa olika saker. Men det var allt för mig då och tack för alla som tittade in som sagt. Och glöm inte att ge mig en like om ni gillar vad ni såg och ge mig gärna en subscription också ifall ni vill se mer av det jag gör. Tack för idag och ha en bra kväll.